In a time of deep political division, when headlines are dominated by partisan gridlock and the nation often feels more fractured than united, it can be easy to lose faith in the possibility of common ground. Yet, in the midst of this discord, the United States Supreme Court has delivered a series of rare unanimous 9-0 rulings, decisions that have surprised many observers and offered a glimmer of hope for unity. These landmark decisions, handed down in 2024 and 2025, saw every justice, liberal and conservative alike, stand shoulder to shoulder on fundamental constitutional principles, setting aside their differences for the greater good. Such unity is uncommon in today's climate and signals that, even in polarized times, some issues truly rise above partisanship, reaffirming the core freedoms and values that define American life. The court's message is clear and unwavering. Rights like free speech, religious liberty, and the separation of powers are not up for debate, no matter the political winds or public pressure. These rulings serve as a powerful check on government overreach, reminding officials at every level that their authority is not absolute, and that the Constitution remains the ultimate safeguard of liberty. The cases at hand touch on some of the most fiercely debated topics in America today: gun rights advocacy, the role of religion in public life, and the boundaries of government power. They also address presidential economic authority, highlighting the ongoing struggle to balance executive power with the rights of citizens and the responsibilities of Congress. By finding consensus on these contentious issues, the justices offer a blueprint for principled governance, demonstrating that it is possible to bridge ideological divides when guided by the Constitution. Each ruling reinforces the pillars of American democracy, protecting individual liberty from state encroachment and ensuring that the rights of the people remain secure. For a nation weary of division and uncertainty, these moments of judicial consensus are a powerful reassurance, a reminder that unity is still possible, even in the most challenging times. The Supreme Court, as the Constitution's steadfast guardian, is providing the steady hand and principled leadership America needs to navigate turbulent times and move forward together. The first case, NRA versus Vullo, asked if a New York official could pressure banks to cut ties with the NRA, raising a vital free speech question that goes to the heart of American democracy. At stake was not the right to bear arms, but whether government officials can use their influence to punish or suppress organizations they disagree with, simply by targeting their financial relationships. This case forced the court to consider how far government power can reach when it comes to silencing voices, not through direct censorship, but by pressuring private actors behind the scenes. The issue wasn't the Second Amendment, but whether government can silence speech it dislikes by indirect means, raising concerns about the chilling effect on advocacy groups and the broader implications for civil liberties. The second case, Catholic Charities Bureau versus Wisconsin, questioned if a faith-based charity's public service disqualified it from religious exemptions. The case highlighted the tension between religious freedom and state regulations, and whether acts of service inspired by faith are protected under the Constitution. Wisconsin argued only overtly evangelistic work counted as religious. The state maintained that providing social services was a secular act, not a religious one. The charity countered that service itself is an expression of faith, and that their mission to help the vulnerable is inseparable from their religious identity. The third case challenged President Trump's use of emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs, testing the limits of presidential economic authority. This case raised fundamental questions about the separation of powers and the role of Congress in overseeing taxation and trade. Plaintiffs argued that only Congress can levy taxes, warning that unchecked executive action could undermine the constitutional balance. The justices expressed skepticism about unchecked executive power, probing the limits of presidential authority and the need for clear boundaries. Together, these cases test whether government can overstep constitutional boundaries to achieve policy goals, and whether the courts will uphold the principles that protect individual rights. The Supreme Court is called to reinforce the guardrails that protect every American's freedoms, ensuring that the Constitution remains a living shield against government overreach and a beacon for liberty. In NRA versus Vullo, the Supreme Court unanimously defended the First Amendment. The justices ruled that government officials cannot use regulatory threats to silence speech they dislike, even indirectly. Justice Sotomayor's opinion drew a clear line. Officials cannot coerce private parties to punish or suppress disfavored views. This precedent protects all advocacy groups, ensuring they can operate without fear of government retaliation through business partners or donors. The ruling is a powerful check on subtle censorship, safeguarding the ecosystem of public discourse. It ensures controversial ideas can be heard, and protects the right to support causes without government interference. The impact extends far beyond the NRA, shielding groups across the political and ideological spectrum. The court's unanimous decision sends a clear message: indirect government censorship is unconstitutional. The Vullo precedent quickly became crucial in 2025's political landscape. When FCC Chairman Brendan Carr suggested reviewing broadcast licenses over on-air content, it echoed the coercion condemned in Vullo. Major broadcasters dropped Jimmy Kimmel Live, raising alarms about government pressure chilling free speech. Legal experts cited Vullo as the framework for challenging such threats, empowering media companies to fight back in court. The ruling is now a living shield for the First Amendment, giving recourse against government intimidation. It ensures media outlets and creators can resist both direct and indirect censorship. Vullo stands as a reminder: defending free speech requires vigilance against all forms of government pressure. In Catholic Charities Bureau versus Wisconsin, the Supreme Court unanimously protected religious organizations' rights. The case asked if the government could define what counts as religious. Wisconsin said only evangelism qualified. The court disagreed. The justices ruled that charitable work is a core expression of faith, not just a secular activity. The government cannot impose its own theological test or penalize groups for serving the broader public. This decision shields thousands of faith-based organizations, from hospitals to soup kitchens, from intrusive state scrutiny. The ruling affirms that religious liberty includes living out faith through service, not just worship. The court's message: the state cannot dictate the meaning of religious practice. Despite the Supreme Court's clear and decisive ruling in favor of religious liberty, Wisconsin officials responded by seeking to eliminate the religious exemption entirely, rather than respecting the court's decision. This move signaled a new front in the ongoing struggle between state power and the rights of faith-based organizations. The state's aggressive action, widely seen as retaliation for losing at the federal level, would have stripped crucial protections from all faith-based organizations, regardless of their beliefs or missions. Such a sweeping change threatened to undermine the ability of religious groups to serve their communities according to their values. The Becket Fund for Religious Liberty called this an absurd and dangerous defiance of the Supreme Court, warning that it reflected a troubling trend of government officials seeking new ways to impose their will after legal defeats. This pattern puts religious freedom at risk, even after landmark victories. The Supreme Court's unanimous ruling remains a powerful shield for religious organizations, framing the state's actions as a direct attack on the fundamental right to religious freedom. It sends a clear message that such rights are not easily overturned. The clarity and strength of the court's decision make it significantly harder for the state to justify its position or to convince the public that its actions are legitimate. This episode demonstrates that even a Supreme Court victory is not the end of the fight. It requires ongoing vigilance, advocacy, and public awareness to ensure that hard-won rights are not quietly eroded by new government tactics. The Catholic Charities Precedent now empowers organizations across the country to stand firm and defend their missions against continued government encroachment, inspiring others to remain steadfast in the face of adversity. Protecting fundamental rights is an ongoing struggle, not a one-time event. It demands constant attention, unity, and the courage to speak out whenever those rights are threatened. The third major case tests the limits of presidential economic authority. President Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose sweeping tariffs faces a constitutional challenge. Plaintiffs argue only Congress can levy taxes, and the justices expressed skepticism about the executive's broad claims. The case hinges on whether Congress gave clear authorization for such sweeping actions. A ruling against the administration could force massive tariff refunds and curtail future presidents' emergency powers. The decision would restore Congress's primary role in trade and taxation, checking the imperial presidency. For Americans, the outcome affects prices on everyday goods and the balance of power in Washington. The court's ruling will define whether the president can unilaterally reshape the economy or if that power remains with Congress. A unanimous Supreme Court ruling is a rare and powerful event, especially on divisive issues. When all 9 justices agree, it signals that the principle at stake transcends ideology and partisanship. These decisions carry unique moral authority, setting durable precedents that are hard to overturn. The recent string of 9-0 rulings on speech, religion, and executive power shows the court's core agreement on government limits. This consensus reassures the public that the rule of law stands above politics. The Vullo and Catholic Charities rulings now shield speakers and faith-based groups nationwide. A strong decision in the tariffs case could redraw the boundaries of presidential power for generations. Ultimately, these rulings unify the country around its most cherished values, reminding Americans of their constitutional common ground.